Hey, hi and hello, I'm Angry Gorilla and welcome back to the PokeMMO server. So item farming is a massive part of the economy here on the server, and there is a whole abundance of items to be farmed for profit and or use. As a community, we are always trying and always talking about the most effective method or what's the most efficient route whenever discussing item farming, especially on the more sought after items. Toxic orbs are one of these items of value. And over the past week, I've had the absolute pleasure in working with a good mate and fellow Porygon teammate, young Cabbage. I'm sure you've heard of him, he's doing amazing things over at his channel, but if you haven't, do check out his work, the link to his channel is in the description. Now, as for an absolute understanding of our method that we have been working on, I do highly suggest checking out his video that he has put together, as it is well crafted and does thoroughly explain everything, so I would just be sounding like a broken record. What I'm going to do is today I'm going to show you how to make the builds quite easily and hopefully at not too much of a cost to you so you can get started. The builds I'm going to show are both the Dusknoir and the Bayonet builds. So if we look at Dusknoir, we recommend Dusknoir as it does have the bulkier special defense stat of 135, and that's going to take a lot of damage from special attacks, and keeping in mind that it needs to have its hidden ability Frisk. It needs to also have a decent speed in order to cater for the 45 base stat speed here. But if making sure on the hidden ability is difficult or it starts getting too costly with TMs and breeding and such, Bayonet is a viable option as it learns all the moves required and often to be cheaper than the counterpart and comes with Frisk as one of its abilities. It does require a bit more of a focus on special defense, so let's see what we can look at on the GTL. Okay, so on the GTL, we'll start off with our Dusknoir. So straight off the bat, we can see that our hidden ability Dusknoir with at least decent speed is looking at about 60k. We don't want to do that. Let us now look at Dusclops, which is 43k, which appears that even if we just look up Dust, which will give us Dusclops, Duskull, and even Dusknoir, it looks like 38,000 is the lowest price at the moment. A lot of these would have been found during the Halloween event, so we can see 4th of 11th, 4th of 11th, 1st of the 11th. So a lot of these hidden ability Dusclops, Duskulls, or Dusknoirs are found during the Halloween event. If not, alpha might appear, but nonetheless, so we're looking at about 30 to 40, almost probably closer to the 50k eventually for a hidden ability Frisk Dusknoir. So with that being said, you've got that, as well as then if you want to have the 31 speed on it or a 31 defense, you can always just breed that with a Ditto, and we can either get one for 4.5k or we get that for 6.5k. So there's those two, or you can always just look at the cheaper option, which is Bayonet, which whacking a 31 speed on that with Frisk is looking at 147k, which you can always just not have the Frisk. Search, you've got 10k, and then potentially, or even just to get a Bayonet with no worries about 31 IVs, and then you just put a 31 IV on. You just get a nice nature that you want, maybe careful, maybe even sassy, gentle. You get a special defense, positive, nature, and then you just get a Ditto with 31 defense, which, like I said before, is around 4.5k. So you're making that Ditto, you're making that Bayonet for probably, what was that? Bayonet with nothing. 2k, 4k, let's say 4k, 4, 8.5, 10k for the brace, 5k for the Everstone, and you're hoping that it rolls with its Frisk ability. Yeah, you're looking at about maybe 23k, as opposed to just getting a hidden ability Duskull for 43k, and that's probably going to go up in price. But Bayonet is more readily available, so going between the two is completely up to you. Okay, so we've bred those 2 eggs, just so then we got them down to level 1, and we Everstoned the nature and grabbed speed braces, so we'd get that 31 speed on both, as well as then we would get Jolly nature on both. So while waiting on those to hatch, what we can do is we can head back to Celadon. So next we are going to look at the 4 moves required. So the 4 moves are Imprison, Skill Swap, Fling, and Trick. However, Trick can be replaced by Thief if necessary, if you want more PP, but you do have the fear of potentially taking out just wild Pokemon, therefore losing the being able to repel Trick. If the Dusknoir or Bayonet levels up more than 37, you won't encounter the Mucks. Now all these TMs can be taught, and they can be found here in Celadon City department store, where you'll find Imprison, Skill Swap, and Trick can all be bought for 20k. So we scroll down the bottom here, I think here we are. So Imprison we can buy for 20k, we can buy a Skill Swap for 20k, followed by a Trick for 20k, and then a little bit further we can get a Fling for 15k, followed by, if you want to, you can always buy a Thief for 10k. Okay, so once your eggs have hatched, it is worth mentioning that you do have the possibility of not ending up with Frisk if you breed your Shuppet, as well as your Shuppet can actually learn Trick if it already has on there, as it can learn it naturally. But nonetheless, the next thing I would do is I would EV train. So if we get ourselves a couple of XP shares, what we can do is whack them on. Now I would focus on EV training, and so to keep it in Kanto for ease, we are going to train speed, and in my favorite spot, which is Route 22, where we can confront Poliwhirls, and that gives us a plus 10 speed EV per horde. Now that we've trained our speed EV to 252 for our Duskull, now what we can do is we can keep in Kanto, we can make our way here to 4 Island, head towards Icefall Cave, in which we will battle Dugong for a plus 10 in special defense EV, so we can go straight into that. Okay, so after you've EV trained these two as much as possible, you can get yourselves a 252 speed and a 50 special defense from level 1 all the way to level 37, which is the ideal level that you want. As well as with the Bayonet here, we did a 150 and a 60 speed. If you want these to be 252 without going over the level 37, you can always use a Zinc or a Carbos, which will increase the EVs without giving these Pokemon experience, which aren't too expensive on the GTL. Now the next step that you can do is you can get yourself a Reaper Cloth for 5k. we can use one of those on our Dusclops, just so then we get that added extra bit onto the special defense. So we can see the difference. It doesn't add much, but it adds crucial difference to the speed, which is what we definitely want so we can run away from the mucks. As well as then you can see the difference in base or the stats comparing Bayonet and Dusknoir. So now lastly, all we want to do now is we want to just put on our item, our RTMs. So we'll do Dusknoir, Bayonet. Now we want skill swap, use Bayonet, Dusknoir, and then we want trick, use that. Bayonet already has it, but if not, you would use it then, as well as then fling. We go to Bayonet and Dusknoir. Lastly, here is a clip of the method in action as we repel into a muck encounter. The frisk notification pops up letting us know that the muck has an item, so instead of running away we then go straight into an imprison, so the muck can't use fling. Followed by a skill swap, just in case muck has the ability sticky hold, so we can actually nab the item. And then followed by using trick to actually obtain the item. So that is it for building the Pokemon to help implement our method in farming toxic orbs. Definitely check out Young Cabbage's video where he talks about the actual data we collected after testing out the methods for a couple of hours. It was a fun process where we chilled out to come up with a method that could make your life easier here on the server. Links to his channel and video are in the description, followed by a link to the PokeMMO forums where Cabbage has written up a guide detailing all of this. So if you liked the video, please leave it a like, comment your thoughts down below. Are you going to use this method or have any suggestions to help fine tune it? And if you want to stay up to date with the channel and everything PokeMMO related, be sure to subscribe. I'm Angry Gorilla, and like always, look after yourself, keep cool, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.